Hi, my name is Scott Lang, and I'm an instructor at the Bergen County Academies, a magnet high school in northern New Jersey. We've been participating in the National High School Design Competition for the last several years, and we found it's an excellent addition to our curriculum. We especially like the fact that we can have our students design according to a set of criteria that are laid out for them, specifically communication, innovation, impact, and relevance.
For mine specifically, I originally started with my idea, which was a way to distribute period products to people who cannot have access to them financially. And I originally just started with that idea and the idea of reach and distributing it to people. But then after further research, I realized one thing that I also wanted to incorporate was the idea of communication and how I wanted to package them, because I realized I wanted to make sure it was gender neutral and accessible to those who are trans and non-binary. And so I think the idea of communication was something I realized I needed to incorporate also.
I think that the ideas of communication and innovation that the Cooper Hewitt Design Competition kind of emphasizes were really important to consider in my design, because I think one of the key elements of this competition is kind of focusing on things that can provide a more modern or a more improved future, which are kind of very contemporary ideas. And so along with that, I think it's important to also consider contemporary ways of solving those kind of real world issues.
One of the really interesting parts of the competition is its emphasis on empathy during the design process. And this has had a real effect on our students as they work their way through the competition proposals.
I think empathy was a super important factor to consider in this competition, because I think a lot of times design can be very consumer driven, where an artist is just kind of making something for someone else to purchase or to use. But I think in this case, I think it was really important to consider how multiple groups of people can be affected by design, and kind of the impact that design can really have, and how design can make change in the world.
I think the thing about empathy, especially in this design process, was that you recognize that this affects real people, that these issues that we're trying to address affects real people in our lives around us and even us.
And as I started doing more and more research, I realized how many people just don't have access to that sort of health needs and those health products. And so that is something that I was appalled by, and I wanted to design something that would address that issue. And so I think the idea of empathy and putting yourself in somebody else's shoes was something that was really important to my process, because my product is about providing people the hygiene products that I have access to and many people do and take for granted.
A major component of our process is that of peer review. We use a website called Flipgrid, which is an educational video portal that allows students to upload and view feedback from others in the class. And we found that this has been very helpful for all of our students.
I think the thing that I enjoyed most about the competition was definitely getting to work with other people and the peer review process, because when we did the project, we worked with other people who were working on the project in the school, and we worked with other grades, and every time we reached a step in the project, we would get critiques from them and see other people's work, and that was definitely something that helped me out a lot along the way, especially getting to hear from other people, getting to hear from older students, getting to see their work really helped me hone in my process and get all the fine details that I might not have noticed.
I think it was really helpful. I think the way we did it was really effective as well and very efficient, especially putting it into drive folders. Sending around those videos were really great to be able to just understand where we could have gone wrong, and seeing everything with fresh eyes is really great, not only for the person receiving the criticism or receiving the feedback, but also for the person who's giving the feedback, because then you realize, like, wow, this person did something very interesting with their design, with their visuals, with their titles, and you can say, well, maybe I can try that for myself, maybe I can tweak it around and see what works for me.
And I think especially having 3 rounds of completely different people kind of view my work was really helpful in kind of fine-tuning the little details that ultimately led to a finalized design.
When you're working on it and working on something for a long time, you're just looking at it for so long that some things that are issues you don't see. And so getting to work with other people and work as a team while also working on your own work is something that I found to be really important in my process.
As I mentioned before, we've done the National High School Design Competition for a number of years, and I'd like to thank Cooper Hewitt and the Smithsonian Institute for their support of this competition. We look forward to continuing our work and expanding it in coming years.
One thing that I loved doing while I was working on it was looking at other people's submissions from past years, because even though the prompts were different, it was just fascinating getting to see other people's submissions, other people's ideas, what they care about, and the work that they ended up submitting after the whole process. And so even though mine looked very different, I took a lot of inspiration from other people's, and I just really enjoyed getting to see what other people did.
The Cooper Hewitt competition really gave me a lot of time to kind of see each individual step of the design process and how something from an initial sketch kind of became a full-fledged, complete product design that I could be proud of. So I think kind of seeing those results and the process in totality was kind of really rewarding.